Hey, what's going on, my fellow Digidorks? It's your good mate Tro here. Today I'm going to show you the MirageGaogamon deck for BT-13. But before we do that, Digidorks has its first official Digimail. Thomas from South Australia writes, "Hi Tro, my name's Tom. My favourite Digimon is Wargreymon because he's so badass. Period. I drew him like Ava 1. I hope you like it. Man, every time I look at this picture, it just gets better and better. Have a look at this. This is the first entry, the first official entry to our Digidorks art competition. If you want to be part of the art competition, all you got to do is write to this address, tell us your name or alias and where you live, and then draw your favorite Digimon and tell us why it's your favorite. And then you could be in the running to win this amazing prize like Thomas is. Show them what they're going to win, Lapo."
Or Tro, the winner of the art competition, will receive this lovely playmat. We also have got some promotion pack version 0.0 special edition. Also, we've got the illustration competition pack and a revision pack for 2023. We're going to chuck in a handful of Tazos as well, just to sweeten the deal. It's a great prize for any boy and girl, Dale Bloody Ripper.
Alright, thanks Lapo. Now I should mention that this is my friend's deck. I don't really play blue decks. I'm still taunted by the blue cards of the past. They haunt me. Oh god! No! Get out of here, Tommy, you little bastard. Alright, let's just get to this deck list, Digibronies.
Like a Digimon, Digivolving up to a champion. Searching out my megas, cause I'm breaking hard. Gaining memory, check security, my strategies will make sure you will master up your Digi-Destiny.
Alright, so first up on our deck list, we have 4 copies of Wanyamon, a Digitama. When attacking, once per turn, if you have a blue tamer in play, draw 1. 4 is all we really need. 4 is what I like to use in this current meta anyways, so we'll just use 4 for now. Onto our level 3s, we're running 4 copies of Gaomon from BT-11. On play, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, add 1 Digimon card with Gaogamon in its name, and 1 blue tamer among them to your hand. Trash the rest. This is just a fantastic searcher, pretty much a staple. Every deck needs a searcher, and this one's it. But it's got a fantastic inheritable. When attacking, once per turn, if you have a tamer in play, return one of your opponent's level 3 Digimon to its owner's hand. And again, the point to this deck is to get as many cards in your opponent's hand as possible. And then we have 4 copies of Gaomon, new one from BT-13. When attacking once per turn, both players draw 1 card from their decks. Now, ideally, not as good, in my opinion, as the EX4 one, but still pretty good. And then all turns, inheritable. While your opponent has 8 or more cards in their hand, this Digimon gets 1000 DP. That's pretty handy. You can always use that extra DP this deck. And then we've got 4 copies of Gaomon from EX4. On play, both players draw the top card of their decks. This is just a fantastic card to help get cards in your hand and your opponent's hand, which, again, we want to get up to at least 8 cards in your opponent's hand. So, yeah, he's fantastic for helping that along in the early stage. All right, onto our level 4s. We're going to be running 4 copies of Gaogamon. When Digivolving, return one of your opponent's level 3 Digimon to its owner's hand. Yeah, again, fantastic. Need to get as many cards in your opponent's hand as possible. And yeah, fantastic for just relieving the floodgates off your opponent's board, getting them back to hand. And yeah, inheritable, your turn once per turn. When effect adds cards to your opponent's hand, gain a memory. Fantastic. And then we're running 2 copies of Gaogamon. When Digivolving, if you don't have Thomas H. Norstein in play, you may play one from your hand without paying the cost. We're seeing a lot of these type of effects in decks, so it's good to put a couple in the deck if it fits it. And then inheritable, all turns, while your opponent has 8 or more cards in their hand, this Digimon gets 1000 DP. Yeah, so this has been really good for the extra DP boosts in this meta, so it's fantastic. Really helps the deck along. We've got 2 copies of Gaogamon. When attacking, if your opponent has 8 or more cards in their hand, gain 1 memory. Yeah, that's fantastic, as long as you can get up to 8 card mark. And then inheritable, when attacking once per turn, if you have a tamer in play, return one of your opponent's level 3 Digimon to its owner's hand. So we're seeing a lot of that effect, and it is really handy for the meta. And then we've just got 2 copies of Kumamon. Really good to go for hybrid for game. You find that you'll have a lot of memory to spare at some point once you get towards endgame. So you might as well just, hybrid for game, get it over and done with. So yeah, I still think 2 Kumamon's pretty good to use in the deck, although you could use Lanamon if you want to get some jamming going. But yeah, still, the Trashing of the Delusion card, that never gets old. Alright, onto our level 5s. We'll be running 3 copies of MirageGaogamon When Digivolving, return one of your opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon to its owner's hand. Yes, we're seeing the similar effects here. Level 4 or lower is fantastic, and again, getting cards into your opponent's hand. When attacking once per turn, inheritable. If your opponent has 8 or more cards in their hand, unsuspend this Digimon. That's an amazing inheritable. We do have a lot of unsuspending power and a bit of jamming power in this deck, which is exactly what we want. Next up, we've got 3 copies of MirageGaogamon from BT-13. When Digivolving, until the end of your opponent's turn, this Digimon gains Blocker. It's pretty good to have blockers on the field with this deck, especially early game. And then also, it gets 2000 DP for every 4 cards in your opponent's hand when it Digivolves. So hopefully, at least you've got at least 4 cards in your opponent's hand by then, so at least gets up to a 9000 DP blocker. And then all turns once per turn, when it effects adds a card to your opponent's hand, unsuspend this Digimon. Yeah, these are fantastic inheritables that we see in all our level 5s. Then we're going to be running 2 copies of the new MirageGaogamon from BT-13. When attacking, if your opponent has 8 or more cards in their hand for the turn, this Digimon attack target can't be switched. So that's fantastic for this meta. So blockers won't affect you, and I guess Black Wall Grey X, you know, those redirecting cards, they won't be able to affect you either. So yeah, really handy. And then yeah, again, the inheritable, when effect active cards to your opponent's hand, unsuspend this Digimon, which is fantastic inheritable. Alright, on to our level 6s. We're going to be running 3 copies of MirageGaogamon from BT-11. Still fantastic mega to use. When Digivolving, return one of your opponent's level 5 or lower Digimon to its owner's hand. If no Digimon was returned by this effect, your opponent adds the top card of their security stack to their hand. That is super powerful, especially once you get up to your level 6s. You're bound to have and then all turns once per turn, when an effect adds cards to your opponent's hand, gain 1 memory for every 4 cards in your opponent's hand. Yeah, that effect is just busted, especially once you get up to your megas, you're bound to have get at least 8 cards in your opponent's hand, which gains you the 2 memory back, so basically Digivolving for 2. Yeah, it's a fantastic mega. And then we're going to use 2 copies of MirageGaogamon, the new one from BT-13. He has Evade, which I still think is a pretty strong effect, at least for this one, which has quite a lot of unsuspending power. So I think that's I think it fits well with the deck. The unsuspending power on the level 5s are all turns as well. So yeah, and then when Digivolving, return one of your opponent's tamers to the hand. All turns once per turn. When it affects that cards to your hand, you may play 1 Thomas H. Norstein from your hand without playing the cost. Yeah, he's fantastic for keeping the tempo up, getting the tamers out. And then we're just going to run 1 copy of MirageGaogamon Burst Mode. Yes, we all know our Burst Digivolve right now. Digivolve 0 from MirageGaogamon by returning a Thomas H. Norstein to the hand and trashing the top card at the end of the first Digivolution turn. When Digivolving, return one of your opponent's Digimon to the hand, then gain 1 memory for every 4 cards in your opponent's hand. That's fantastic. This next one is busted. When attacking, if your opponent has 9 more cards in their hand, by choosing cards in your opponent's hand without looking and returning them to the bottom of the deck so that 8 remain, unsuspend this Digimon. Yeah, it's a funny effect, and it actually is amazing. It really works well with this deck. So yeah, but I only run 1 copy of him because you can really get the work done just with the usual megas. Alright, onto our tamers. We're going to be running 3 copies of Thomas H. Norstein from BT4, still classic. On play, trigger draw 1, and then main, if your opponent has 8 or more cards in their hand, again, that 8 is the magic number that we're trying to get to. You may suspend this tamer to unsuspend one of your Digimon with Gao in its name. So that's just fantastic. Yeah, you can get to a point where you're unsuspending, and you've got jamming as well on the board. So we've got 3 copies of Nikolai Petrov as well. Starting main phase, one of your Digimon with Gaomon in its name gains jamming for the turn, and then your turn, when an effect adds cards to your opponent's hand by suspending this tamer, gaining memory. So yeah, it just works perfectly, and these 2 tamers work really well together. Just the jamming and unsuspending, that's definitely what you want. It's classic blue bullshit. And then we've got 2 copies of Thomas H. Norstein, BT-13. We've got a memory setter now, which is always nice. Felt like 2 was enough anyways, because we do get quite a bit of memory in this deck regardless. And then when one of you Digimon with Gaomon or Gaomon in its name attacks, by suspending this tamer, both players draw 1 card from their deck. Yeah, again, just a fantastic way to get more cards in your opponent's hand. Alright. And then, lastly, onto our options. We've got 2 copies of Blue Memory Boost. Of course, pretty classic staple. We need that bit of extra search power in this deck. So yeah, but 2 is definitely enough. Then we have 2 copies of the new Full Moon Media Impact. Main, return one of your opponent's Digimon to the hand. Then gain a memory for every 4 cards in your opponent's hand. Yeah, super busted and absolutely perfect for this deck. I think you only need 2. But yeah, remember, we sort of can only get rid of up to level 5s with our Digimon, so we did need a bit more removal. So I think full immediate impact is perfect. Then we've got one copy of Ice Wall. Yes, it wouldn't be a blue deck without it, of course. Doesn't really need an explanation. Main, all your opponent's Digimon gain when attacking lose 2 memory till the end of the opponent's next turn. I hate reading out this card. And then security gain 2 memory. Alright, and our last option, we've got one copy of Offensive Plugin A. Can't go wrong with these plugins. While you have a Tamer in play, you may use this card without meeting its color requirements. And then main one of your Digimon gains security +1 for the turn. It's just fantastic, especially because we've got all that unsuspending and jamming power. Just that extra bit of spice, security +1, just really helps with the game. If you're Digivolving into BT-13, MirageGaogamon, and you get to add a security card to the opponent's hand, and you're swinging in for a check, unsuspending, swinging for another 2 checks, unsuspending again, then bang for game. So yeah, I just think one fantastic bit of spice for this deck. And yeah, alright, that's it for the deck list. Onto the strategy guide.
Okay, Digibronies, the strategy to this deck is quite simple. You'll want to have a Tamer and your Gaomon Searcher in your hand for the start, or at least Rookie and any sort of Tamer. So we will start out by hatching, Digivolving into Gaomon for 0, drawing for Digivolving, and then just playing our Gaomon Searcher for 3, revealing the top 3 cards of our deck, grabbing a blue Tamer and a Digimon with Gaogamon in its name. We will grab MirageGaogamon and Thomas H. Norstein. We trash the rest. Once turn has passed again, we draw for turn, raise our Gaomon, and then we will Digivolve into Gaogamon for 2 over our Searcher Gaomon, drawing for Digivolving. And when Digivolving, if you don't have a Thomas H. Norstein in play, you may play one Thomas from your hand without paying the cost. I'm gonna play the Memory Tamer. Then, we attack with Gaomon. When attacking once per turn, both players draw 1 card from their deck. And then one Yamon states, when attacking once per turn, if you have a blue Tamer in play, draw 1 from your deck. And then we will play another Thomas for 3. On play, trigger draw 1. Once turn has passed again, we will draw for turn, hatch, Digivolve into Gaomon, draw for Digivolving. Then we will Digivolve into MirageGaogamon for 3. When Digivolving, return one of your opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon to its owner's hand. Then we shall Digivolve into MirageGaogamon for 4. Return one of your opponent's level 5 or lower Digimon to its owner's hand. If no Digimon was returned by this effect, your opponent adds the top card of their security stack to their hand. And then all turns once per turn, when an effect card adds in a card to your hand, gain 1 memory for every 4 cards in your opponent's hand. Your opponent must be wary, as all turns once per turn, when an effect adds cards to your opponent's hand, gain 1 memory for every 4 cards in your opponent's hand. Once turn has passed again, we can raise, and then play a Nikolai Petrov for 3. So, we swing with jamming. And then, once per turn, if your opponent has 8 or more cards in their hand, unsuspend this Digimon, which hopefully they should have 8 or more cards in their hand by this time. And then, when an effect adds a card to your opponent's hand by suspending this Tamer, gain a memory, we can activate this by either returning one of your opponent's level 3 Digimon to hand when attacking, or simply using Gaomon to attack first, adding a card to both players' hands. Once we unsuspend, and gain memory back thanks to Nikolai and MirageGaogamon's effect, we can play Offensive Plugin for 2, swing again, and use our Thomas H. Norstein to unsuspend our MirageGaogamon, swinging in again. It's as simple as that, Digibronies. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Alright, thanks heaps for watching today's episode, guys. Again, if you want to be part of the art competition, all you got to do is write to this address, tell us your name or alias and where you live, and then draw a Digimon, your favorite Digimon, and tell us why it's your favorite, and you could be in the running to win an amazing prize. Alright, until next time, Digibronies, have a good one.
The one who catches the magical cards. Doesn't that sound cool?